Happy Tuesday. So because I was chatting with our friend Eddie earlier today about his textbook woes, I felt like making a few comments just about textbooks, about language textbooks. And where to get them. Because Eddie was looking at, he might mention this later himself, but he was looking at a grammar book he needs for his classes this semester, and it was going to cost him, what was it, Ed? 150 new and like 110 used or something? And that's ridiculous. Even if it is 500 pages of German grammar with good reviews, that's a little absurd. So, something that I personally developed as a trade skill when I was in Germany looking around for language textbooks that I could use to improve a language, French or Turkish, through German, was I would ask the person working if they could please take it out of the plastic so I could see it, or I would find if there was already a copy out of the plastic. And then what you really gotta do is you gotta look at the contents. If you don't know, if you're not beginner's level but you're not really intermediate like me with French at the time, and now me with Turkish, then what you have to do is you have to see where in the contents the skills that you have not yet learned come in. Like, if you crack open a B1 French book, a B1 level French book, and you go, okay, I don't know if I'm quite B1, so let's see where the new material for me comes in, and then there's actually nothing new that you haven't already learned or that you aren't already decently confident in until like the last few chapters, you don't need that book. You don't need that book. Now, meanwhile, if you go to the B2 textbook and you have no idea what's happening in any chapter, then what I suggest you do is find an intermediate level grammar book or resources online, whatever, to cover it. So take note of the things in the B1 book that you didn't know. If like the last 3 chapters are just an example, what to say when you get sick or when you're on vacation. Obviously that's not B1, but just bear with me. And you don't know what those are, if you don't know that vocabulary or any of those new grammar structures that they introduce in this chapter, then take a note, like write it down in your planner or whatever, that this is what you need to cover on your own, so you don't give out all that money on that textbook, and then go work on that on your own. And then come back later and buy the upper level textbook. Always aim for the next level up. Obviously, if you're sitting at level A1 and you grab a B1 textbook, that's not going to help you, because that's too high up, because then you're lacking the structure in between that is necessary for you to move forward. Also, buying textbooks for college classes. Just don't always go for the first price you see. Language textbooks can be super expensive, like the grammar book Eddie was looking at earlier today, or even the, he was looking at Denkmal, the German textbook Denkmal, which I've heard good things about, so it would be worth the investment. But unless it's a workbook that you want to have blank, like if someone's offering a used copy and they've written in it and done some exercises, don't do that. Or if you do that, then erase their handwriting. Duh. Language textbooks are going to be one of the best investments you make, especially if you get your hands on a good textbook. The American providers have plenty of good textbooks. One last little note, almost off topic, I want to tack onto this thread is, if you are confident enough to learn the language, your target language, through a language that's not your first, like if you already speak fluent Spanish and you want to improve your Hungarian through Spanish, go look for Spanish textbooks. Those are going to cost more to have shipped. If you're in America, those are going to cost more to have shipped to you. But in the long run, it might be a better investment. In my experience, I've noticed that Europeans have a much more, just speaking about European languages, but that Europeans have a much more structured way of developing their textbooks and of printing their textbooks. They're much more structured. Most of them are made like the one I've been using for Turkish. Like, most of them obviously would be optimal, as any textbook would, with a teacher to explain it to you. But they're also written so that a student just going through the book by themselves can completely work out and understand any question. So if you have those means, if you have that capability, maybe look for a textbook from a European provider. So just some brief ideas about textbooks, because I actually just ordered mine for the school year. Got my French books, got my German books. Gonna be doing Turkish on my own, and yeah, fingers crossed. Next week we'll be back to a theme I believe we agreed upon, and it's a pretty interesting theme, so I'm excited. Stay tuned. Bis dann. Tschüss.